All right, so we got the old brake booster out. Now we have full access to the head. Let's see if we can get some work done on it. If not, we'll be pulling the exhaust manifold, the front accessories, the intake manifold, and then the head. All right, so I had pulled the beehive, the springs off. I took a piece of hose and slipped it over the valve stem and just kind of twisted them. And the exhaust valve made a very metallic grinding noise. The intake valve made no metallic sound and felt like I was turning it through sludge. And when I would pull it up, it would get stuck. When I pulled up the exhaust valve, it would just fall. So that tells me there's something on the seating surface for the valve on the intake side. That's actually where I have the leak to. But I'm going to put the springs back in, put the valve cover back on. I'm going to run the leak down test again and kind of see where we're at and see if I still have a leak coming out the intake. If so, we're going to go ahead and pull the head. All right, so we're hooked back up. We're losing a couple pounds. Definitely hear it coming out of the intake. I can hear a hair coming from here. It's very faint. It's very pronounced here. Definitely hear it coming from here. All right, well, let's check compression and see where we're at now. All right, so we got the exhaust off. We pulled the intake manifold off. I had oil or some kind of gunk all over my Velcro gaskets. And then all over the bases, there's this gunk. And I'm pretty confident it's not, it might have been dried up. It might have been dried up oil because we did find oil in the valley cover back here. Not the valley cover, sorry. In the belly of the intake manifold before, where it was sucking oil up through the PCV valve. However, I don't think we're sucking oil vapors through because we would have started to see oil in our catch can. So I think whenever we put that intake valve cleaner in there and it just sprayed it down, I think it just sprayed down the inside of that manifold and melted all that paraffin or whatever was going on in there. All right, so I got the head pulled off right here. And then tomorrow when it's daylight, we're gonna look at that some more. Right now I'm just kind of picking up. Everything looks fine here. The cylinder walls are very, very, very nice. They look nice and clean. The lifters look fine. The valves, I'll just have to pull them and kind of inspect them and see what's going on there. All right, so here we have our 799 head. These are cylinders 1, 3, 5, 7. So 5's where our problem's at. I'm not really seeing any kind of obvious cracks or damage or anything in here. I mean, the valves, they all feel rough, which are all completely dirty. I don't see what I was expecting to be a little crack right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this rag back under here just to kind of close the gap. And then I'm going to use the spring compressor here. We're going to tighten these down and we're going to remove our valves. And once we get our valves out, then we'll do a little bit closer inspection. All right, so we got those valve springs off. This is our smaller exhaust valve. It's got a little bit of build up on it. By a little, I mean a lot. Now here's the one that was leaking the worst. You can see that's not a perfectly shiny area either. You can actually see the bevel on that one. I need to check these and make sure they're not bent. But I don't know. Let me do some inspection and I'll report back with what I find. So at this point in the video, I'm actually discussing removing the other head from the other side of the engine because I found that I have a bent rod on number 5. The piston doesn't come up to a true top dead center. It's about 0.3 inches shy of meeting the top of the deck, and it sits bottom dead center about 0.3 inches. So it looks like I have a bent rod. The video for this is missing. I'm not sure why. It was corrupt. I had a few corrupt files, but I was unable to show that on the GoPro. Kind of inspect the block, see if it looks like I had a bent rod on this side too. I'm just curious. I want to inspect stuff like I did on the other side. We're going to drain the oil because I'm pretty sure some of this coolant, well, that may not be true. Well, it could have. Well, the coolant's on the lower side, so just in case, yeah, I'm going to drain oil. I got pulled engine. I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyways, I'll start disconnecting some of the wiring from the starter. Disconnect some of these hoses up here. We'll have to get the car moved back to the carport and start removing things like the belt housing, lower cover, unbolting the torque converter. We'll be able to access many of the bolts between the belt housing and the block, and then soon we'll be prepared to lift the engine out. Probably won't be today. We might get to that tomorrow. We'll see. I might take a break and do some other stuff, but that's kind of where we're at. All right, so the head's off. I'm gonna rotate. Basically, I'm just bringing each piston up to top dead center. We look good on 4. We look good on 2 and 6. They all come up. Everything came up just fine. Okay, let's take a look at this head. I don't see nothing obvious on this side. All right, well, let me tear it down and take a look. All right, so I'm sitting out in the yard at the picnic table, and I'm going to do a little bit of work on this head. So this here is the number 5 cylinder, 1357. Whenever I placed the valves in here and I did the water test, it didn't leak any water. However, whenever I used lighter fluid, which was just something thinner, I was out of mineral spirits, but it did leak out of the intake and the exhaust. I tried doing the same test to number 3. I didn't see any leak at all. So that's probably a good indicator, and I bought some more mineral spirits. I'm going to use a valve lapping tool. It came with 2 tools. This one tool should do both the intake and exhaust valves on this engine. I have some valve grinding compound, and I have some Prussian blue to kind of check it afterwards. This will be my first time doing this, so it'll be a new experience. I've watched a few videos to see how it's done, and hopefully we'll have some good results. And once I get that done, we need to go back and clean up some more. And I got the head stood up on its side, that way whenever I get the valve grinding compound in here, it doesn't fall down in the guides. So I've seen some people do the head up and it falls down in the guide, so I don't want to do that. But let's get started here. So I could definitely hear the grit breaking down as I went around and around. I lapped it twice. I'm not really sure about any positive indicators of, or a sign that I'm looking for here. All I need to do is try to Prussian blue whenever I'm done. See if that helps clean it up. Obviously I need like a wet rag or something to clean these surfaces off. Feels kind of rough. Just gonna keep working at it and kind of see where I get. All right, so it's difficult to see on the intake valves because those are relatively clean, but you can see, man, it might be hard to focus with this GoPro, but there's pitting I'm not sure if I remember the right way to get this to focus. There's pitting on these valves, and it's pretty bad. And it matches these surfaces, obviously. Anyways, here's one surface that's already been ground down 2 or 3 times. And it has a nice muted appearance. It's I guess you could call concentric throughout, and the valve surface itself looks similar. It looks a lot better than the next one, which is still full of pitting. But I'm probably going to go maybe one last time on this one just to make sure. But it is definitely causing a visual improvement, so that's what we wanted.